What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Sly Jordy, and welcome back to some more F1 25 driver career mode. If you missed the first episode, which I highly doubt you did because it did really well in terms of views, you've got to go watch it if you haven't already, because what a game we have in our hands. It honestly, I'm just really so happy with the game, but we had our debut race with Visa Cash App Racing Bulls, and our debut in Formula One in general, where we got a P3, just all the way down to strategy. The senior Red Bull team was just completely off the rails, just fighting each other and holding each other back, really, and it ended up being a case of Leclerc and Russell just able to undercut them extremely easily, and we even undercutted Russell. So we got a P3 purely on just strategy. So it's not down to pace. We also put the AI up as well from 95, which we've had for the last couple of years, to 100. The AI in general are so much better now. It's such a much better game than maybe even F1 23. It's had a much better start than F1 23, that's for sure. But of course, it was only the first race, and things can change on a dime, especially in Formula One, and especially with these games. So the next track that we're going to is the Chinese Grand Prix, Shanghai International Circuit. And the thing about this particular Grand Prix weekend is that this will be our first sprint weekend. This is something I was really disappointed I didn't get to fully experience last year on F1 24, especially since the AI was completely broken by the time we'd gotten to the Chinese Grand Prix. They were probably at their worst. So this is going to be my first true experience of how I assume was the intended experience for the sprint weekends that were added in 2024. So yeah, this is going to be new to me. Sprint weekends have different tyre allocations to standard weekends. There are fewer sets in total to choose from, and there are additional restrictions on the use of tyres during certain sessions. During the qualifying sessions, only soft compound tyres can be used. During SQ1 and 2, only one new set of medium tyres can be used per session. During Sprint Quali 3, only one new set of soft compound tyres can be used during the session. Okay, so oh wow, and speaking of qualifying, I guess it won't matter anyway, because in normal qualifying we've got it in wet conditions. So this is going to be a strange one. I really hope the wet racing with the AI is much improved over what it was in the beta, because in the beta they were atrocious. All the worst issues from F1 24 were really bad in the F1 25 beta. I highly doubt they let it ship like that, so I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I won't do any difficulty changes, but it won't matter anyway, because even if you put the difficulty as low as 60, the AI was still quicker than you. It was insane. So I'm glad we're getting it this early, so this will be a good indicator as to whether or not the wet racing actually works. But yeah, we've only got the one practice session, sprint quali, 10 laps in the sprint, and then 28 laps for the race. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into sprint qualifying around the Shanghai International Circuit for the Chinese Grand Prix.
Welcome along to Shanghai, ladies and gentlemen, where it's Chinese Grand Prix weekend. But before we can race, we need to qualify. And who's going to take that coveted pole position? How will our grid line up? We're about to find out. Welcome to qualifying.
So here we are, our first laps around the Shanghai International Circuit here in China, and yeah, sprint qualifying. Definitely something very different. I really like it, actually, that we don't have to do qualifying on the softs. One of my favorite ideas for qualifying that I can't remember when I came up with, but I had this. I think they tested it out in 23 in the real life season. In Q1, all drivers use hards. In Q2, they use mediums, and then softs for Q3. I feel like that would make qualifying so much more interesting than right now. And sprint quali is kind of a representation of that. Instead of soft tires for SQ1 and 2, we're using the mediums. So our first laps aren't the greatest ever. Really not sure if we'll even make it through to SQ2, but yeah, with our final lap we get 6/10 up, but still not as quick as Hajar, as my engineer makes clear. So Isaac is back to good pace, of course, which is good to see, but we do make it to SQ2 along with him. But honestly, I'm just not feeling the most comfortable on the mediums in qualifying conditions. As you can see, I'm going wide in turn 1 here, losing up to a 10th. We do manage to gain it back on the exit, of course. Just really contrastual laps, if that's even a word. Very different laps that are faster in some areas and slower in others, and I just can't seem to find a true pattern. As we now go down the back straight, I'm using ERS. We're going to get knocked out of sprint qualifying if we're not careful. P13 here. Leclerc has had a horrible qualifying again. Antonelli is also down here, along with Alonso as well. We are 3/10 up as we come round the final corner. Surely this could be enough, but we lose a little bit of time coming round the final corner. What is it going to be? It is P11. Knocked out in SQ2. Our teammate actually made it through, Isaac Hajar, in P10. So his pace was pretty good for sprint qualifying. Definitely making up for that first race. But a few surprises. Esteban Ocon and Nico Hulkenberg in the Haas and the Sauber respectively making it through. Carlos Sainz made it through as well. Jack Doohan once again, he's loving this track. Alonso in the Aston is out. Leclerc, another nightmare, out in SQ2, along with Antonelli in the Mercedes as well. I don't know what's going on with Leclerc's pace so far, but the usual suspects up top: Verstappen, Norris and Russell. Without further ado, let's go to the sprint.
So it's all about speed in today's sprint. Not very many laps and no chance to get ahead on strategy. Who here today has the raw skill to take them to the top? Shanghai International Circuit then is a 16-corner high-speed thrill ride. The long and ever-tightening right-hander at turns 1 and 2 tests the driver's patience. And the flats, open to the elements location, test their skill in a crosswind. 2 DRS zones will assist passing, and they're available into turn 1 and down the kilometre-long back straight into turn 14.
So here we go, waiting for the 5 red lights to go out for the sprint race here in Shanghai, as Lando Norris gets a good getaway. There's also a pretty good getaway for Carlos Sainz, who drifts off to the right looking for a good move here. We are struggling a little bit, going out wide just a little bit right here as an Aston Martin. I think that's Fernando Alonso down our inside here. Hajar has had a nightmare start. He has fallen all the way down to P13 and slipping fast as we try to book in this move on Fernando Alonso, trying to claim P10 here. We're going to go around the outside here, braking later as we look to settle behind Esteban Ocon. Doohan's up the road, not too far. Everybody seems to be on the mediums for this sprint race, but yeah, Hajar just cannot seem to catch a break. After an amazing sprint qualifying, he has fallen down all the way to P15. I did look after the race. Yeah, he's fallen all the way down to P15, and that's where he'll stay, unfortunately. As we now move on towards the end of the lap, Doohan and Hulkenberg battling. Ocon going slow. We've caught him napping a little bit, going right down his inside, and we have managed to gain P9. So, you know, big gains right there, and points are within reach as we look at Hulkenberg here, looking down the inside, perhaps scouting out another maneuver down the inside again. Hulkenberg nearly caught napping right there, and he makes sure to turn on his ERS to make sure he stays ahead. But his exit, his entry into the final corner is awful, and we've got the run down the main straight here. Doohan has managed to gap him, So Hulkenberg's got no DRS, and it's easy pickings for us right here as we claim P8. That's 1 point for the sprint, but we can get another one if we can just catch up to Doohan, which we managed to do, as Doohan is all over the place on these mediums, just 4 laps in. He's drifting round the corner. This is so cool that the AI can make so many mistakes now, as we are now getting onto the slipstream of Jack Doohan here, dummying to the right, going to the left, and this should be the move done. He doesn't have DRS, we do. That's an easy move. We're going to go defensive into the hairpin just to make sure we complete the move, and it is done. Up the road is Carlos Sainz. Esteban Ocon out of the session. Really unfortunate for him. Up the road, Carlos Sainz. We've got 6 laps to see if we can catch up to that top 5, but Jack Doohan is still lurking as well. He'll still have DRS, and he'll still be fighting with us. Meanwhile, or at least later on lap 6, it's Yuki Tsunoda looking to make it a dream 1-2 for Red Bull, which is what they sorely need after what happened in Australia between the two of them. Yuki Tsunoda makes the move past Lewis Hamilton. He's into P2. Meanwhile, on the previous lap, it's Jack Doohan looking to reclaim P6 right here. I did say that we were going to have some trouble up the road. Sainz and Russell are fighting. Hopefully long term we can maybe catch up, but this is not good for us at all, as Jack Doohan has reclaimed P6 with relative ease, pretty much nearly the same way as we managed to take the position earlier. But we're going to get the run on him onto the main straight here, as we have DRS now, and once we get back in front, if we get back in front, we are going to focus on making sure he stays behind as we go down the inside, side by side through turn 1. But there is P6 reclaimed, as we now go on to lap 8, onto the onboard of Carlos Sainz, looking behind us as George Russell is overtaking the Williams here. So a big move for Russell. Hamilton's not too far away neither. Sainz is going to try and make a move around the outside, but Russell has that completely covered. It's a beautiful move for the Mercedes man right here. That's P4 gained, and he's not finished there, as on lap 9, 2 laps before the end, he has now caught up to Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton goes defensive to the inside, but yeah, so much power, so much DRS down that back straight is an easy move for George Russell. Yuki Tsunoda's not too far away neither, but it is Max Verstappen well ahead of everybody else. He is going to once again take another victory. The 3-time world champion, or the 4-time champion, sorry. He is going to be taking P1 here in Shanghai, in the Shanghai sprint. Tsunoda P2, Russell P3, Hamilton P4, Sainz P5, and we are in P6. Pretty good, all things considered.
So that wraps up the sprint race, but there's still more action yet to come this weekend. We've got qualifying and, of course, the Grand Prix.
And as we saw earlier, qualifying, the main qualifying for the Grand Prix will be in wet conditions, unfortunately. So I've got little to no experience in the wet here. I do have an experience in the beta, which wasn't a very good experience at all. But, you know, that beta was months old, apparently. So I highly doubt it's going to be an issue here on release, as we now go around the final corner to kick off our initial qualifying lap on the intermediate. So at least it's not raining too heavily. And yeah, already the wet driving is not only different from F1 24, but also very different from the beta. There was like little to no control in the beta, but there's a lot of control here. It kind of feels like a nice blend once again between F1 24 and F1 23, of course. I'm quite happy with the wet handling, at least. Anyway, I don't know how the AI is going to be. We'll see further on in this session, and hopefully we get to do a full-blown race in the wet one day in this career mode. But yeah, so far so good. It might be 2 purple sectors in the top right, but that's only because you know, this is right at the beginning of the session. But we're aiming for the 150s in terms of the overall time for these laps. We've gone quicker than Hulkenberg. We've got a 150.9, which is not enough to make it through into Q2. At least I don't think it will be anyway. P10 currently, so I want to just make sure that we can make it through, of course. And yeah, if you saw that first initial lap, we went wide at turn 1, so I definitely wanted to give it another go. And look at how much time we have gained with the improvement of our driving and also track evolution, as you know, there's a clear dry line here as all the cars have rubbered it in. 2.5 seconds up from our initial lap time, and as you can see, P16 we wouldn't have made it through, so it's good that we went and did that second lap. P2 in Q1, but of course it doesn't mean anything, just as long as we make it through to Q2. But more surprises. Leclerc, another nightmare qualifying for him, but Hamilton is even worse. And strangely enough, Tsunoda is down there as well. They must not have bothered setting more than one lap, because I know Hajar didn't. He is stone dead last. I have no idea what's going on. We know Hajar's got the pace. We know the other guys in that elimination drop zone have got the pace, and for some reason they just didn't deem it necessary to go for a second lap. And because there was so much track evolution in that initial session, that's probably scared the rest of us into making sure we do another lap. And as you can see here, a second lap of Q2, still gaining over a second. So there's a lot of track evolution going on during this qualifying as we take a P4. And once again, we got some surprises. Kick Sauber have had a pretty good qualifying, all things considered. Carlos Sainz is out in P12, but Oliver Behrman in the Haas, P8, and Jack Doohan once again P9. And it's strange that Sainz got eliminated because Albon is placed as far up as P2, which is absolutely insane. But here we are in Q3, setting our initial lap, making sure to spend enough ERS down the back straight, because I'm 99% sure that the AI don't do it anywhere else on the lap but there. I wish I knew where they would spend their ERS. I guess I should probably look into it as we come round the final corner. Let's see where this lap places us. It is slower than Russell, which is to be expected, but quicker than Doohan, which is exactly what we need. Of course, we are competing with the likes of Alpine, and nobody else ended up setting a lap. That was everybody's last intermediate tyres, so nobody bothered going out once more because there wouldn't have been any improvements. But it is George Russell that takes pole, and we end up in P6, so not too bad. Let's see what we can do with it.
The Chinese Grand Prix then is upon us once again. It's a race that saw Michael Schumacher claim his final Formula One victory in 2006, as well as Red Bull's first win with Sebastian Vettel in 2009. There's no doubt there's plenty more drama to come here in Shanghai. We start a lap here at Shanghai with the long, difficult right-handers of turns 1 and 2, the first of 16 corners that make up this 3.3-mile circuit. The incredibly long back straight provides the best passing opportunity of the lap, with speeds in excess of 200 miles per hour before we head into the braking zone of turn 14.
Well, they'll definitely be glad that there's not a sprint race today. Let's face it, the sprint couldn't have gone much worse, but what we're looking for today is a reaction. Now, I'll be generous here. It's not that long ago that you were racing and entertaining us on a Sunday, but in the years since, the sport has changed quite a bit, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really has, Crofty. You know, the cars have got bigger, they're heavier, but critically, there's more downforce to play with as well now. There was about 4 tons of downforce on the car at 300 kilometers an hour when I drove. You're now looking more towards 5 tons of downforce. So there's a big difference in performance. But because of that, the car being heavier and bigger, you've got to drive in a smoother way. You've got to look after it a bit more. You've got to nurse it through the slow speed corners more. They were much more nimble, agile machines when I drove in Formula 1 compared to now.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
So, in terms of the strategy, I felt as though we may as well play it safe and go with what worked for the first round of the championship in Melbourne, and that is start on the mediums and eventually finish the race on the hards on a one-stop. But it seems as though we've got all sorts of different strategies up and down the grid. We've got Behrman on the softs, a bunch of drivers behind Piastri also on the softs. They'll be going for 2 stoppers, surely, because those softs are not going to last them anywhere near long enough to do a one-stop, we might be in a little bit of trouble. We might actually end up losing a position to Behrman, and if me and Piastri are not careful, we're going to get, you know, surrounded and completely drowned out by all the soft tyres behind us. But in front of us is the Williams of Albon, the Red Bull of Verstappen, the Ferrari of Leclerc, and George Russell is going to be leading us away as we go lights out, and we are underway for the Chinese Grand Prix. It's a good getaway for George Russell, and Leclerc also has a good start covering off Verstappen. We are not having the greatest of starts, going wide a little bit here as Oliver Behrman, with the infinite grip that he'll have on those softs, easily gets past us up into P5. It is a very good race for him, that is for sure. And yeah, we're going to be in a bit more trouble as Carlos Sainz and Jack Doohan, they've both overtook Piastri. They're both on the soft, so I think that really goes to show just how powerful those soft tyres are going to be, as Carlos Sainz is really putting the pressure on us. And honestly, I succumb to the pressure a little bit as I completely lose my racing line and we go wide, and Carlos Sainz has a pretty easy overtake done there, and over defends against us there. I don't think there was any need for a near brake check there, but it is what it is. We've got Doohan 3/10 behind us, and we need to watch out for him. We know he's pretty good at this track if the sprint was anything to go by. But yeah, not the greatest of starts, having started P5 and now fallen to P7, and we've gotten on the curb there as well, so we're going to have to spend some ERS down this back straight to make sure that we keep ahead of Jack Doohan. But yeah, he's going to have a lot more grip than us. He's peering down the inside, as you can tell by the proximity arrow, but we just about managed to keep P7. Piastri is under a lot of pressure for P9 as well. I think that's the Ferrari of Lewis Hamilton behind him. But eventually he does get past Doohan. We move on to lap 3. Those softs are already starting to go off a little bit. Either that or Piastri has some insane pace as he looks to go down the inside, and I brake a little bit too late. We have to take evasive action before running into the back of Sainz. But somehow, some way, we have managed to keep P7. But I genuinely think it is only a matter of time before Oscar is going to be overtaking us. We don't have much ERS. I'm pretty much surviving by hanging off of Sainz here. And speaking of Sainz, we stuck so far to the back of him that we ended up giving him a bit of a love tap, and while I was checking for damage, Piastri takes me completely off guard and blitzes past us with all the overtake in the world, and that is got to be the easiest overtake that he's done in his entire career. Completely caught me napping, took me by surprise. And to be honest, again, I've got to praise the AI for this year's game. It is so much better than even F1 23. That wouldn't have happened in those games. I could pretty much sit back and chill in the last 2 games, and I guess that could even go for games like F1 2018 and 2020. But yeah, I'm really impressed with what they've done with the AI in this game, and hopefully they remain this way for the foreseeable future. But we move on to the next lap now, lap 5, as we look to go around the outside of Oscar Piastri, looking to regain the position. The soft tyre runners in front haven't gotten too far ahead, and now my engineer is getting on at me, because now the team knows that I've got the pace to overtake not only Behrman but also Carlos Sainz. So the team is really confident about my overall pace on these mediums. The soft tyres now starting to go off, so we've got a genuinely good opportunity to overtake these guys. We've got 5 laps to do it as we now look to overtake Behrman. Behrman is pretty slow going around this hairpin, high-speed hairpin sort of corner here. As we now go onto the back straight, using all the ERS that we have, which isn't much. We've got DRS, but so does Piastri, and he has ERS as well. We're going to move to the outside. We've got no choice but to dive on the inside of Behrman, because we've got no space whatsoever, and somehow that works, and that's good. That keeps Piastri, who has some insane pace, away from us, and now we can focus on Carlos Sainz. But yeah, I had no choice but to go for that move there. Piastri completely boxed in. He'll be frustrated to still be behind Behrman. But I mean, better qualify better, you know. There's been some genuine surprises this season in these first 2 rounds with some of the qualifying eliminations, but a lot of them are coming through the pack quite easily. But now, lap 6, we have got Carlos Sainz in our sights, going off to the right, and here we go. We don't have any more ERS though, and I think Sainz also has DRS, so we have to make sure to commit to the inside. And now we separate the 2 Williams cars, both of them in the top 5, which is really impressive, really good to see, especially as a Williams fan myself. It's always nice to see Williams perform good, whether it's in real life or in the game. And now my engineer and the team is getting on at me for a strategy change. They think a 2-stop is viable. You know what? We're going to go for it. The soft tyres looked pretty strong for those first few laps. So if we can finish the race on the softs, maybe we could be looking on for a really good result here. But yeah, Charles Leclerc in P3. That's really good for him, considering his Q1 scare. But look at this, he's looking to go down the inside of Albon to claim P3. They've slowed each other so much that we could possibly make it 3 wide here. I think better of it, and there's contact between Albon and Leclerc, and now we've got slipstream and DRS on Albon, but we're going to get boxed in as Leclerc scorches past. With all the ERS in the world, he makes that look easy, and he does claim P3 as we look to make sure we keep ahead of Albon while also trying to harvest as much energy as possible. Again, I really love the ERS system this year. It is so much better than last year. But look ahead on the leaderboard. Verstappen 13 seconds ahead. Russell will be leading as well. But look at this. Piastri has now caught up. He's overtook Albon and has now overtook us. So Piastri has been on a rampage in this race, considering his low qualifying position. But look at that, P4. He's really on for a podium spot now. But we are going to be pitting. This is going to be our first stop of the 2-stopper. We're going to be going onto the hard compound of tyres. I'm not sure if this strategy will work, but we're only 2 races in. I've got to trust the team I'm in. So in we come. Hopefully it's a pit stop that goes flawlessly. Yes, it is. Beautiful. Putting on those hard tyres, a compound that I am extremely comfortable on every game. And yeah, especially now considering the heightened tyre wear. This will not take us to the end of the race, as you know, we've still got about 19 or so laps to go. So yeah, we've still got quite a lot of work to do, but a lot of clean air ahead of us, ahead of Sainz, 2 seconds ahead of Sainz, so that's really good for us, and 14 seconds of clean air to the guys who haven't pit, and it takes us up until lap 12 to even catch up to another car, and unfortunately it is our teammate, which is some early signs of maybe the strategy team not quite knowing what they're doing, because once more Hajar is finding himself nowhere. He is absolutely nowhere, nothing to fight for. You've got to feel bad for him, because we know he's got the pace. Sprint qualifying was absolutely a sign of that, and he got unlucky in the sprint with his bad start. But oh man, the strategy doesn't do him any favors. And look at this, Gasly and Stroll still battling as well, which gives us an easy overtake on Stroll, and now we're going to have an easy overtake on Gasly. I don't even have to use much ERS to do it. I'm not going to, neither. I'm going to save as much as possible. These cars are not in our fight, and funnily enough, this car ahead of us, Lando Norris, because speaking of bad strategy, he is still out on those worn hards, and this overtake is going to be extremely easy for us. So Norris is extremely slow compared to his teammate, which is a huge fall from grace considering the easy win that he had last time out in Melbourne. And that is an easy overtake for us as we now set our sights on Antonelli. But the car that we really do need to set our sights on is Russell. 3 seconds down the road, he's going to be in a net P1, P2 territory. I've got no idea where Verstappen is, but who knows? Maybe we could go for the win. It really depends on how these hards perform, and then later on the softs, as we now move on towards lap 16 now. We've got Norris 3 seconds behind us. Hamilton is going into the pits now, and we have got P3 in our sights. Verstappen is so far ahead at this point. But also at this point, I start to realize, yeah, maybe this strategy wasn't the greatest, because Oscar Piastri behind us, a guy that we were in the same sort of position with prior, is already just 5 seconds behind us. He'll be going to the end of the race on those mediums, I'm pretty sure. I don't know about Tsunoda. I think Tsunoda might be on a very similar strategy to us, just flipped. But yeah, Piastri only being 4 seconds behind us on his last set of tyres is really, really not a good sign, and he's going to be gaining quite a lot on us. And yeah, I think this strategy is pretty cooked, all things considered. If we'd have just kept with the original strategy, we would be at the same pace as Piastri right now. But by the time we go on to pit onto the softs, he was like only half a second behind. So if we'd have kept going, perhaps in the hopes of staying on the hards till the end, we would have been swallowed up by Piastri, Leclerc, and maybe eventually Tsunoda, who's pitted with us as well, as we settle the car into the pits here. And oh no, as if it couldn't get any worse, the team has an issue with attaching the right rear wheel, and we're going to lose so many positions, namely to Antonelli, Norris and Bortoleto, cars that we would have come out in front of. So now we've got so much more work to do as we come out here on lap 21. I'm so angry at the team right now. We really should have stuck with our gut feeling and stuck with the strategy that we'd selected and felt safe with because of the first round. But now we've got to overtake 3 cars. I'm just so frustrated, to the point that I wasn't even focused on you know, keeping it clean with Bortoleto. We make some clumsy moves here, little taps with the wing. I have to check the wing. We're fine. I think the color might be a little different in terms of like the green front wing, but otherwise we've gotten away with it. Now the positive here is we're going to be so much quicker than these guys in front of us, so we can very quickly make these moves. But think about the moves that we could have made if we were already in front of these guys, you know. That's the main thing that we've got to be frustrated about, but we have to cast it aside. We need to focus on the race that we are in the car that we are in right now, as we look to see Norris making a move past Antonelli. We're going to be saving our ERS most of the way down the straight because we are prepping for a move perhaps on the next lap. But Antonelli pretty slow through that corner. We have so much more grip on these soft tyres, so yes, as our engineer says, we make it look easy. And now Norris is next once more, who again is just absolutely nowhere in this race. His strategy was genuinely not it whatsoever. But of course in front of us we've got Hamilton and Albon. As, hold on, Max Verstappen is out of the session. 8 seconds, 9 seconds ahead in the lead. He pretty much had this victory all sewed up. The woos for Red Bull continue as Max Verstappen has an engine failure, and listen to the sound of that engine dying as Max Verstappen's hopes of winning the race also die, as George Russell now inherits the lead and pretty much the victory. He's 10 seconds ahead of Piastri, and this pretty much confirms our strategy was bad as well, because we were around the pace of Piastri and Leclerc, who are now in podium places. We are nowhere near them as we come past the stricken Red Bull of Verstappen here. All we can hope for now is hopefully catching up to Albon and Hamilton here. Hopefully they start fighting, but Albon is he's got a comfortable lead over Hamilton, and we've just got to drive our hearts out here. We do again have the advantage of the soft tyres at the very least, but honestly that's only going to last so long. Once we get onto the last couple of laps, these tyres are not going to be viable at all. But now we're going to skip ahead to lap 25. It only takes us about 3 laps to catch up to Albon. Hamilton had a lot more pace in the tank, so he managed to overtake Albon at some point. And now we've got to see if we can catch up to Hamilton 3 seconds up the road. I don't think we're going to do it with 3 laps to go. However, he looks to be on some really good pace here, and considering his qualifying position, which was P16 by the way, a P4 is an amazing recovery drive. The Ferrari strategy team really nailed it. And now look at this, we go on to the final lap. Of course we weren't able to catch up to him because these softs have gone off. You can even see the torn rubber on the tyres, which is so cool for this year's game, as George Russell crosses the line in P1. Oscar Piastri and Leclerc will be taking P2 and P3, which is pretty sore to look at. Our team completely screwed that up for us. We could have been on for another podium, but we really do need to focus on us right here as we go down the back straight. We're in puncture territory for that front left, and I'm really hoping it takes us to the end here as Norris looks to make a move on Albon. We're going to have to go a little bit defensive, as cautious as possible, as Albon, or is it Norris, looks down the inside. Very close, 81% tyre wear on the front left. Just the complete wrong strategy, but regardless, a P5 is nothing to scoff at.
Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
We've seen a brilliant display of the Russell hustle. It's George Russell who wins.
A great display of dominance today, Crofty, by this driver. They led from lights out to the flag at the end, led every lap of the race. Brilliant stuff by them, and excited to see what more they can do in future races.
Well, it's been a long wait for many of our drivers, but the wait is always worth it. Bring them out to the awaiting crowd. It's time for our podium celebrations. By George, he was good today. The top step awaits for George Russell.
I can't help but feel bitter looking at this podium, because we should be up there. If we'd have stuck to our original mediums to hard strategy, we would have done it. But I guess that's the beauty of inexperience with how the tyre wear works on this game now. The strategies for each team are completely different, and I thought I'd take a chance. You know, we had good pace anyway, so I figured if the team felt there was a quicker way, we probably should have taken it, but it was a risk that wasn't worth taking, and judging from Hajar's strategies in the last couple of races, we really should have known better. But it is what it is. Lessons are there to be learnt. George Russell, 11 points ahead of the nearest driver. He's the one who comes out really well in this entire weekend, and he now leads the driver standings ahead of Hamilton, Norris, and then us in P4. Verstappen would be much higher if he'd have taken that win today, along with the sprint win. It's just such a shame that Red Bull gave up on him, because he had really earned that. And Red Bull honestly had earned that with their strategy. To even end up 8 seconds that far ahead of Russell is crazy, considering Russell started on pole position. But yeah, it is what it is. P5 for us, which is still really strong. And we've got Japan coming next. Sort of a home race for the team with the Honda power unit, so we'll be wanting to perform well, and hopefully our teammate starts performing well as well. But yeah, guys, that will do it for this episode of F1 25 Career Mode. I want to thank you guys so much for the support we got on the first episode. As of right now, that's at 300 views. It's probably more at this point. Crazy. And I'm eternally thankful for it. And I hope a lot of you are sticking around for these future episodes. Guys, cheers for watching. Hit that like button as hard as you possibly can. Comment, share, and subscribe. And I will see you all in the next video. Until next time, peace.